back, everybody. Today we're going to be talking about this guy right here. This is the Nitecore, and it's NU05MI is the version of this one. They make a couple different versions, some that are IR, some that are just specifically here. Let's read the back on there. Some that are IR and visible, some that are just visible. It depends on what you want. I got this one through Amazon, like I do most things, but you can actually order from Nitecore themselves as well. And I have to say, if you're looking for an IR strobe, or if you're looking for a visible strobe of some kind, this thing is hard to beat. I have had it for about 2 months now, and I've kept it on my helmet. Whenever we go out to the range and I throw it around, and the helmet usually sits upside down on top of this thing, and so far still works just fine. So I'm pretty impressed with it, and which I guess we'll get straight into the pros of this thing. My favorite thing about this is its price, and it's $30. I think on Amazon it's $35 if you order from Nitecore. I think it was $30 plus a few dollars for shipping and handling. Anyway, so $35 bucks. Most other IR illuminator strobe type things that I've seen, the cheapest ones are about $70 to $80, or you could buy one of the little, I think the Phoenix Juniors. I'm pretty sure that's what they're called. The ones that attach to either a CR123 or a 9-volt battery, and they make little adapters that will kind of do what this does, and it fits on top of the helmet right here. But then you're paying another $30 for those, and you end up paying $50-60 bucks for one of those. And then it's really annoying because then you have to carry around either 9-volt batteries, or if you buy the CR123 batteries, it looks kind of goofy because the battery is exposed on top. So it just kind of looks a little, I don't know, MacGyvered, too MacGyvered for my taste. One thing about this, it's pretty nice. Like I said before, it's IR, which if you have night vision, you are absolutely going to want some way to identify yourself to others that are around you. Obviously, you should be able to see each other, but kind of looking off in the distance, say if me and my buddy were out in the woods and you wanted to be able to see where each other were, say you're doing a maneuver or whatever, or even if you're just at the range shooting, say, a night vision course, or you're shooting low light or whatever, and people are using nods, then you want to be able to identify each other fairly easily. Or let's say if you don't have night vision, one of these would still be a pretty good idea, because if you go to the range and you're shooting low light, for instance, and you're using, say, you're just white lights on your guns, having this thing on the visible light is just a way for people to easily identify you. Say if you go down there, downrange, and you want to staple up new targets, and people can't see you super well for whatever reason, you're not illuminated or whatever. I know people use glow sticks or whatever, but it's a good way to not get shot. So just for safety reasons, this thing could be a good idea. Now, there's 2 ways to attach this. You can either attach it via Velcro, which is how I have it attached right here. It just has the hook and loop on the bottom side of this thing, and it sticks on there. Or if you want, it has, and I'll show you right here, take out this rubber band. It has on the back side, hopefully you can see that, a little clip on the back where you can actually attach this to Molly. So you could attach that just on there. I'm not going to, because it's a little bit hard to get it on and off, but you can put it on there. So if you want to put on your vest, or I don't know, something else that you have that has Molly, your backpack or whatever, you could put this on there and it would also attach on there. Now the back, it just has grooves. You can see right there. Slides straight in, locks in place. It has a fairly good retention. Like, you have to kind of push on it, and as you can just see, whenever you do push on it, it goes when it goes. It's not kind of a slow release thing. So that's one of the reasons why I have this rubber band, and I just double wrap a rubber band around there to kind of hold it in place. You could use a Ranger band, or I don't know, twisty tie, super glue if you don't want it to move at all. But I don't like how easy it is to come out of here. I wish they had some sort of locking mechanism that kind of came over the front to prevent it from coming out, because to me it just comes out a little bit too easily. So that's, I guess, a negative about it. Some other positives about this thing is it's rechargeable. So you can see right here, it has a little micro USB port. So you just unplug that, there it is. It says it is waterproof. I say waterproof, I use that term lightly. It's water resistant. Hang on just a second, I'll tell you what the rating is. On their manual, the rating is IP66, which I believe is basically just kind of like get misted or rained on, is how waterproof it is. But I have seen videos of people actually throw this into a cup of water and leave it there for a few minutes and not have any problems whatsoever. They even turned it on whenever it was in the water, still worked just fine. So I'm not really worried about it. I mean, you're scuba diving, with this helmet, you're going down a whole bunch in the water, then maybe don't get it, sure. But from what I've seen, it'll handle normal stuff unless you're a Navy SEAL, which obviously I'm not. And if you are, you have access to a lot better stuff. But how you use this thing is, it's not tricky, but once you get a hang of it, it's pretty easy to do. If you push on the button once, you see it has 3 lights that light up. That slow light indicates your battery life. So if the battery is full, like it is right now, it'll flash 3 times. If it's roughly 50%, it'll just flash twice. And if it's, I believe, below 10%, let me check. Don't want to lie to you. Yes, if it's below 10% and it's almost dead, it'll only flash once. So that's your battery indicator. So whenever it does that, one, you know the unit is off. So that tells you the unit's off, and it also tells you the battery life. If you hold down, you'll get the strobe, which once that turns off, that means your IR strobe. I don't know if the camera actually picks it up or not, but right now it is strobing in IR. So that's how that indicates. Now if you want to switch modes, hold down again, and whenever... There we go. So whenever it's holding down, you press again. Now it's solid. Whenever it's solid like that, that means the IR is on solid. Now, obviously, you can't see it because you're not looking under night vision. Now, I'll show you footage of it under night vision here in a second. So let's hold down again. So now it's on. So now you can see the visible strobe. Obviously, these two here will be your IR. And if I hold it down again, it'll turn off. Now, if I turn it on, cycle through, there's your on. So if I were just to push, it'll cycle through. So you can see solid IR, strobing, off. And if you want to turn it off, you just hold down. Now it's off. And if you want to make sure it's off, just push it again, and then you get a little battery indicator. It means it's off. So pretty easy to use. It just took me a few seconds. I had to read the directions, which I hate doing because I'm a dude. We all hate doing that. The other nice thing about it is the fact that it has a built-in lithium-ion battery, which is nice. Some people may prefer a battery that you can change in and out. I really don't care because battery life on this thing is pretty decent. The battery life with the IR flashing is 18 hours. With the IR just solid on, it says it's 3 hours and 15 minutes. The visible green light, which is 5 lumens is what it says. It's pretty bright though. It's 5 lumens, but it's not directional, so it just kind of lights up a general area. It's 20 hours on the flashing visible, and with the steady on the visible, it's 6 hours. So it's pretty good runtime, and it only takes an hour and a half to charge this thing. So it's pretty nice charge time wise. It does say that the standby time is good up to 12 months if the battery's been fully charged, so you can leave it in storage for a while, throw it back on there, it should still be fine. The nice thing too, again, is how easy it is. You just take this thing off, take this off, and then plug it into any micro USB port that you have laying around. And I'm going to do a video specifically on how to keep stuff charged while, say, you're in the field or out and about, and you don't have access to, say, a wall outlet. Basically, it involves using a power pack with different adapters, solar power, all that kind of stuff. But I'm going to go over that with rechargeable batteries and just kind of show you what kind of works for me. That way you can have more or less infinite battery life for your different equipment. Now, one negative thing you could say about this is if the battery dies in this thing, it's dead. You got to buy a whole new unit, but for 30 bucks, I mean, who really cares? That's cheaper than buying a bunch of batteries over time. Anyways, so positives and negatives. Again, if you want to make sure this has a little bit more retention, they got little straps here. You can tie this thing down if you're worried about the Velcro, but the Velcro, I mean, it's not going anywhere. I mean, if it's snagged on something, I mean, I'd rather it come off than my head, so I'm not going to tie it down with anything specific, but I do use a rubber band to wrap around here just to prevent it from sliding out of the little locking mechanism. So there's that. If you guys have any specific questions about this thing, feel free to ask, but I'll insert some footage of me recording this through my Gen 1 Sightmark night visions and kind of at different distances just to give you a good representation of what it looks like. Now, I will say that the video footage that I have, I'm recording through my iPhone on my through my NVGs at this, so everything is going to be slightly out of focus. I recorded a few different times to try to get it to where it's clear enough to where you can see what's going on, but just know the focus at what you see through the camera isn't exactly how clear it is. Whenever I look through NVGs on these things, you can see the IR strobes, and it's very clear of where it is. Whenever you look through it on the camera, probably what you'll see, it's a little bit more blurry and kind of blobbish. But it's very specific where you can see it comes from through NVGs when you're actually looking through them in person. Again, this is made by Nitecore, and for all of you wondering, this flashlight is actually made by Nitecore too. I'll do a review on them at some point, but long story short, I have 2 of these things, and one of them drains batteries whenever it's off. I don't know, maybe it's a quality control issue, maybe I just got a lemon, but this one works just fine. It's never drained batteries, so take that for what it's worth. But again, compared to buying something out there that's, I don't know, I've seen stuff that's, $200-300, depending on what you get. If you want to get one of those, by all means get it. But again, this channel is about budget stuff and what works. And so far, this thing has worked really well for me. And I like Nitecore as a company. They do pretty good on stuff. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. Make sure I didn't forget anything for you. Oh yeah, so weight on this thing, it is extremely lightweight. It weighs absolutely nothing. With the bracket, it weighs 0.78 ounces. So it doesn't even weigh an ounce with this and this combined. Just this weighs 0.37 ounces, so it's incredibly light. So putting this on top of a helmet, you don't miss anything. You don't even notice it's there. It weighs absolutely nothing. Now, granted, I will say durability-wise, it's a little bit cheap feeling. For standard use, just throwing a helmet on the ground, like if you were to drop your helmet directly on top of this thing, I don't know if it would survive that or not. But being in storage and my helmet rolling around all over the place and on top of this thing, it hasn't bothered it whatsoever. So I would say durability is acceptable, but it's not something I'd be dropping off your truck and dragging it behind it, because it'll probably break. So the weight is pretty nice. The size, it's roughly about 1 inch by 1 inch, I think. Yeah, so thickness-wise, you can kind of see how thick it is right there, and how thin it is. But you could put it pretty much anywhere you want to. You could put it on top of your vest on the back and clip it on a piece of MOLLE, and you'll never know it's there. But again, if you have any questions, let me know. Hopefully I covered everything for you, and hopefully you enjoyed this video, found it useful. Alright, well, have a good one, guys.
That's with it on strobe. And just so you can kind of see how comparison and how bright it is at distance. Down there, if I can get it, it's not going to focus. But down there is one of those little Walmart like 5 lumen LED lights that are solar powered. So you can see kind of how bright that is in comparison. Now granted, this again is IR, the other light is not. So let me put it a little bit farther out so you can see how it looks. Here's what you would see if the helmet was looking directly at you, or like if you're looking from above down below on the helmet. Assuming this will focus. It's thinking about it. Anyways, that gives you a general idea. So that's as bright as it can potentially be. Again, I have a rubber band wrapped around mine, so it dims it somewhat, but it's plenty bright to see from distance. Again, this is about 25 yards. Again, this is about 10-15 yards. It was a little bit clear, now it's getting a little bit blurry. But you can see it's plenty bright to see. And here's kind of representation of what it would look like at night. I have the flash on my iPhone camera, so you're seeing about what I am. So you can see it's still plenty bright on the visible mode. I probably would never use a visible mode for anything unless you're doing, say, a night shoot at the range with, I don't know, a department or a group of buddies or whatever, if you're lucky enough to have your own land or something. But it would be plenty bright to where people wouldn't lose you in the night, say if you're downrange, taping targets or doing whatever. So it's plenty bright for that.
Alright, hopefully looking through the NVGs of that gave you a pretty good idea how this thing performs. You can see it pretty well out to, you can see it out to probably 150, 200 yards if you have good NVGs. You can see it probably farther than that. Realistically though, like for it to be bright and clearly visible, you have to be 50 to 100 yards and you can still see it pretty easily. It's still visible with better NVGs, but with my Gen 1s, probably about 100 yards is about as far as you'd be able to see it clearly. Now, if you're in the woods or something like that, there's going to be trees and stuff in the way anyway, so you're not going to be able to see that. But from any practical distance, I think you'd be able to see it just fine. Now, if you're aircraft or somebody looking down on the ground and you're trying to see this thing on infantry or something, you're probably not going to see it. I don't think it's bright enough for that. But for my purposes, it works just fine. And for any of y'all gear junkies out there, or if you're nerdy like me and like knowing kind of the specs, hopefully this kind of gives you a good look at kind of the specs on this thing. Specifically, I highlighted the useful information, at least in my opinion. But again, if you like this kind of content, give us a like, subscribe, comment, tell us what you like, don't like. If you don't like this weird red color, some people like it, some people don't. I'm not quite sure on it yet, but it kind of helps everything pop out. But again, if you enjoy this content, just give us a subscribe. All right, appreciate it. Have a good one, guys.